The scene is set with Jacob Crowley at the One-Eyed Dog bookstore. He is this time sitting amongst the other books with one open before him, an old written work with the title War and Peace along its cover. He's not very far into the book, probably because as he reads it, one looking at him can tell, watching his eyes, they wander now and then to those around the corner at the cafe, listening as much to the little chattering bits of conversation that float about as he is indulging in the paperwork in his hands.
And as he does this, Haikal is pulled by this supernatural presence, and he's made his way into the bookstore. He's kind of just like glancing around until he almost like zones in to where the source is coming from, and makes his way towards Mr. Crowley. Only when he's within 10 yards or so does he recognize Mr. Crowley from the Primogen meeting, and he puts on a smile as he makes his way forward. Mr. Crowley?
Jacob smiles over to him. Yes, hello. Haikal, was it?
Yes. Hi, Kyle. You've... And I glance around. Summoned me?
I did, yes. You'll have to forgive me. It was the only way I could think of to reach you, as I have not yet traded more modern forms of communication with you yet.
I nod towards you and just take out my cell phone and I start keying some things and I show you my my number. I don't mind at all, I say as I show you my number. Something must be on your mind.
Jacob reads the number, pulls out his own phone, writes it down within so that he has it in his possession.
So how can I help you?
Jacob pauses a moment, closes the book, pushes it aside, setting a bookmark to the page he'd been on. He seems to collect himself a moment before he speaks. You are the... Well, you were the representative of the Malkavians at the last meeting. Is there a new Primogen yet?
We are meeting later on tonight, in a few hours as a matter of fact, and that very question will be answered.
Ah, then I will make sure I do not hold you here for too long.
Oh, I don't mind at all.
I spoke with a friend of mine about some interesting messages that have been passing through kindred minds of recent. Do you know what I'm talking about?
You speak of the dreams, I suspect. Not all the kindred have been affected by them. Just a few. I trust you have.
I have had these dreams sometimes while in sleep and once while moving about during the evening itself.
I've had the very same experience. There are some dreams, visions that are only true to the Malkavians. We've had a little bit more than the rest of the clans, I say in a low tone.
Ah, so it is something connected to your blood?
Almost certainly, there's nothing to be worried about. It's something old that's reaching out. It's affecting only a few, perhaps a select few, though I'm starting to suspect that those that have received these dreams are somehow more, and I tap the side of my head, in touch with the more supernatural aspects of our condition.
While he doesn't confirm or deny that statement, there is a bit of a smile on Jacob's features when that statement is put forwards. Truly, with his practice in the more sublime reaches of his bloodline's abilities, he could definitely qualify in that category. Do you, he hesitates a moment, um, you say it is nothing to be worried about. Do you have any idea who or what is reaching out?
Oh, I most certainly do. It's an ancient that dwelled once in a temple and is in our city. You know the asylum. It's being run by Dr. Mogans, and he is tending to this an ancient woman of my clan, and she's tied to the moon. I think perhaps she can see through it. Maybe. Well, she's just waking up, anyway, and she's hungry. Remember the dreams, the moon, the cheese, the hunger the child felt. This is what she's experiencing. She's hungry, and, well, when she gets up, we have to be certain that uh, we've all been good, and I'll hold my smile at you.
Good, you say. Hmm. The dreams give about the impression of a mind that sees itself as very young.
Mm.
I would hope that she who is awakening is of sound enough mind to tell good from bad.
I nod towards you and I look at the books nearby, and I'll say, imagine You've been asleep for a very long time, and the world around you has changed completely. Perhaps even to the point where the language that you speak is unrecognizable to those around you. Wouldn't you feel like a child at that point when you wake to a new world? The visions of a child must be allegorical to starting fresh. That's my opinion anyway. You'd have to ask the good Dr. Mogans uh, anything in greater detail. I can take you to him if you want. Uh, though he's very suspicious of the Ivory Tower. You must have seen the news and what happened. There was a gunfight in the asylum, and the doctor's quite shy to leave now.
I caught some news of that, yes. I'm afraid I did not pay too much attention to the gritty details of it all. They didn't find out anything about who sparked the gunfight.
No, there's really nothing. It's something to do with a police detective, maybe. Perhaps it was a personal grudge, but the doctor thinks that it was someone in the Ivory Tower, and I can't dissuade him of it. Perhaps it was. I shrug slightly. Perhaps not. Everyone seems to be very suspicious of the asylum and what's happening within. I view it more as a family member waking up from, let's say, a long coma.
While you say that, I'm going to roll perception empathy on Jacob because he wants to see, he wants to examine that statement and see how close to the truth it is.
Okay.
Perception, empathy, 6 dice. Rolling.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Look at all those successes.
Okay. Why wasn't I rolling something important? Damn.
I know. Well, you think that? Well, I'm being honest. I'm being genuine. I think that this is a family member that's waking up. That's must be good. Though you might, like, with those amount of successes, pick up that there might be something else behind the statement. Maybe a little bit of uncertainty mixed within. But you do get the sense that I'm telling the truth about my view of things.
Jacob will nod then. He'll smile a bit more. He'll even become a bit more congenial, lose some of that icy kindred to kindred facade that he was emanating in that political arena. Just generally seeming more personable. I understand entirely what you mean. Is it... Well, you say that they've been taking care of this one for some time now. She's about to wake up. If she is so old that her mind reaches even beyond what just your own feel, it's a very powerful, very old lady we're speaking of. Have you ever heard the term Methuselah before?
I nod slowly towards you. I've heard of it. I know what it means.
Do you know what the greatest fear most have when a Methuselah awakens is?
I remain silent for a good 5 minutes, and then I say, uh, "Share, share the concern. What is it?"
Jacob folds his hands together, sets them on the desk, and leans forwards. Very conspirational matter. He almost whispers the words. That their thirst is so great after their great slumber that so much of what makes us alive is needed to restore them, that they may instead opt to take it from family instead.
Is there like a chair or anything near me?
Oh yes, there's a chair. It's just sitting off to the side. You would be standing next to it. You'd have to step over to your left to land in it if you're stepping to it, or you can pull it out and behind you.
I'll step into the chair and just kind of almost drop into it as I look very thoughtful at you, almost now seriously concerned, and I'll grab my head with my unbandaged hand and rub like the side of my head visibly, and I stutter as I say, "This, this is the Methuselah's thirst you speak of."
It is. As we as we age, we carry more that within us is more potent, more powerful. The rumor is that at some points the power requires a potency beyond what we normally consume in our day-to-day existence.
My eyes widen like saucers, and I kind of mumble the words. That's why. That's why there's so many of my clan in the asylum. And I look shocked. They're locked up. They and I shrunk into the seat. You think when she awakens, are they? Do you think they're a source of food?
I
And
couldn't. Go ahead.
I'll cover my face before you speak.
To answer that, I would have to ask two questions. Well, the first would be, who locked them up there?
From my understanding, Dragonstone Securities brings them to the location. They're all criminally insane. Though the Black Rose killer, I was told, now this might not be true, but I got the impression that he might have been embraced when he was placed there. Do you do you think do you think that maybe the caretaker, Dr. Mogans, is embracing these men and offering them as food?
Many things are possible.
I look visibly sick now. Uh, Excuse me, Mr. Crowley. I've never considered these things until now. The last thing I want is for anybody to suffer. And then I shake my head. Well, this is all just conjecture, right? We don't know for sure. She she could just be feeding on. Yeah, maybe she's feeding on them, but not to the death. Maybe they're willing. I mean, if she's good, then I'm willing to supply her with what she needs. But if she's not, I look like uncertain. I don't know what to think anymore.
Certainly possible. But let me ask you this. If I were to put you under, so to speak, lay you out in a tomb, let us say, for a few 100 years, your body has sat through that, exhausted itself. It needs sustenance. Suddenly you're awake. You can move again. You're free. Will you think to use self-control? Will you care?
I would want to care. I would want to exert self-control, but I know from your description that the beast would be unleashed. It would be very hard to resume control after so long. Keeping the beast in a cage for that many years. Nearly impossible.
Yes, it's all a matter of how much in touch with her humanity she was and how much she still is.
I just nod slowly. Uh, I I want to say that I'm hopeful. Before I came here, I was quite certain that this is a good thing. But if it's like you say, if she needs the blood of our kind to survive, and if she awakens in frenzy, then I fear the lives of all those Malkavians locked up. I can't very well bring this up with Dr. Mogans. Do you think that's a bad idea?
Is he older than you?
Uh, I'm uncertain. But he has a firm grasp on the situation. Like he's
Hmm.
been tending to her for a long time.
Well, if he means to assist one of her sort, it's much like taking care of a person with special needs or a disabled individual. You first have to research and know what they need and be willing to provide it.
It seems right now Dr. Mogans just wants time. He probably has all the resources he needs. If what I've seen when I went to the asylum is true, there were plenty of my clan visible behind, well, in straitjackets and kept at bay. I've seen at least two there, and I look thoughtful for a moment. I did get this impression through visions, thoughts, words that only the Malkavians have felt. First it said, "That's one" to me, and then she said, "That's two." And it began during the supermoon. And now that you've said the desire to feed, and I know Dr. Mogans is undoubtedly providing the food, I suspect perhaps there might be two less Malkavians in that asylum. And that's only thinking the worst. I hope it's not the case.
I've given you a lot to think on and digest. You need not rush to any action immediately. In fact, you're about to speak with your clanmates in but a few hours. So you can
Yes.
find their wise counsel if you need it.
Yes, I was going to speak with them at the asylum, but now I think it might be best if I speak with them away from it. Just as my mind settles, the old von Hausbrook estate. It's recently given to the clan. The prince is ever so kind in doing so. That's where I'll speak with them. Thank you for this conversation, Mr. Crowley. You've really made me think.
It was no trouble. Well, it was troubling, but no trouble to provide the information. For, he waves a hand about the room, knowledge is a great thing to have. Without it, we can only act at best half our faculties.
Yes, you're quite right. I nod to you. I must be off. You do have a wonderful place here, though. I do like a 360 as I'm walking on the way, towards the door. And I kind of like loudly before I leave the room. Thank you again for the talk. As I exit.
Jacob waves to him, watches him leave, sits back a moment. He has several personal thoughts about this meeting. One, this high call seems to be easily flustered and most definitely free with information, disturbingly trustworthy. He's going to have to look in on that some more. And perhaps it is just the conversation about his fellow kindred that bring him to such openness. Sitting back, Jacob will lean into his chair, run his hand along the book in front of him, although he doesn't open it again. And as he sits there deep in thought, the scene will end.